Good evening, everyone. I intend to be king of all faiths. I revere Islam. I intend to be king of all faiths. We need to be more welcoming. No, this is not what I'm saying. Let me be clear on that shit before anybody wants to flay me alive. But this is something that is suspected that Keir the traitor Starmer was the author of. That little speech that I just did right there. And who said this? Well, the clue is in what I fucking said. King Charles. He wants us to be more welcoming. This speech was back in February 2023. Well, it's been 19 months since that speech. And look what Islam has blessed us with, in air quotes. It's blessed us with mullah rices who basically are allowed to attack the police and get off scot-free, who are allowed to incite hatred, to incite violence, to attack the police during a protest, to basically chase after isolated white people with machetes when we're protesting about our kids being murdered by some of these intolerant fuckers. And I accept that Axel Radakabana isn't exactly a Muslim, but he may as well be inspired by that shit, because who do Islam like to go after? The kids. It's called terrorism for a reason. It's supposed to terrorize people, especially children if they live through it, or us because they kill the children. The 7/7 bombings, the constant attacks on our citizens, whether it's driving a vehicle through them, taking a knife and stabbing people, whether it's grooming our children and taking them to be exploited and used as socks for Islam, if you catch my drift. And of course, Islam, that ever-tolerant religion, is calling for blasphemy laws on a daily basis, especially the Muslim Council of Britain, always teaching us how we need to stop Islamophobia and stop the attacks on the Islamic community, who are always trying to be perceived as the victims in all this shit. But as the old saying goes, you can fool some of the people some of the time, you can fool all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. And this is certainly one person who is not going to be fooled any longer. The Islamic community, of course, is on Keir the traitor Starmer's priority list, as we've seen what happened after the Southport riots. He said he will do everything he can to protect the Muslim community, which, as I've said before and will say again, makes Keir the traitor Starmer a sectarianist bastard. I've made the point many times before, and I will say it again. If moderate Muslims do not call out their extremist brethren wherever they may see them, then frankly, the moderate Muslims are the grass hiding the snakes. And I know there are going to be some people who call racism, even though Islam is not a religion. But here's the thing. If we were to flip the script and say this shit about Christianity, do you think Christians would be calling out racism? Do you think ordinary Christian people would be like, he's saying blasphemy and all that shit? No, of course they wouldn't, because they understand what these people are talking about is logical. If we did this shit with Christianity, we would be exposing these fuckers, because we understand that we cannot have people who are encouraging other Christians to go and violate people. We don't want our people going out and breaking the law. We understand that shit. And it's not what the man upstairs has taught them. Or in my case, the woman upstairs, because that's what I usually imagine them as. I imagine themselves as a rather attractive woman that I hope to be sleeping with sometime soon. Anyway, back on point. The fact of the matter is, Islam never seems to call out the bad behaviour in its community. You may occasionally see the odd imam do it, but a lot of these people are basically akin to two cheeks of the same arse. If anybody is the real snake oil merchants here, to use Keir the traitor Starmer's own language, Islam fits that rather perfectly. They may say what the public want to hear, or what NPCs want to hear, because they don't have a brain cell amongst them, but the trouble is, Islam, behind closed doors, behind their Islamic community centres, and I have one in Norwich as well, unfortunately, they will usually preach, stroke number one, they will preach hatred. They will preach their hatred behind closed doors about how they have to slay the kafir, which is the non-believers basically, how they must take white women as sex slaves, how it's okay to beat your wife, how it's okay to treat women like second-class citizens, and of course, giving gay people a free first-class ticket off the top of a fucking building. But of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. If ordinary people knew the truth behind Islam and its 5th century death cult teachings, how long do you think it would take for those people to be uprooted, Islam that is, and thrown out of our country? That's the cold bitter truth, folks. If ordinary men and women realised what this death cult that is Islam was truly capable of, they would be out of our country. They'd be gone, just like that. Because there is no shot, alongside the people who have that rare resource called common sense, that these people would tolerate such an intolerant religion. One that is, quite frankly, completely incapable of integrating with Western society. In fact, it actively tries to conquer it, to subjugate it, to dominate it. I accept Tommy Robinson probably has Muslim friends. I wish there were more Muslim friends like him who would be willing to call out radical Islam. I accept there are some Muslims who reject the Quran and all of its teachings, but they need to call this out more. They have to. They'd expect the same of us. They would expect the same of the BBC, for example. But we saw what happened with stroke number two, with Hugh Degenerate Edwards. They were more angry that people were angry at the lenient sentence. In fact, I wouldn't even call it a lenient sentence. It's basically a non-sentence. 6 months. Suspended for 2 fucking years. What a joke. Whether people want to accept it or not, Islam is not prepared to integrate with British society. They're not willing to integrate with any society that isn't Sharia law based. That's the truth of it all. The reason they go out of their third world shitholes to come to our countries is for one simple reason: to turn our countries into the same Sharia law worshipping third world shitholes that they've come from. People are not going to want to believe that, of course. It's a very hard, cold, bitter pill to swallow. But swallow it, they most definitely will, sooner or later. Do you know any other religion that 84% of all grooming gang cases, probably even more now ever since the report was released from Quillian themselves, which was a Muslim think tank, by the way, but even more so now, I suspect, 84% though of grooming gang crimes way back yonder were committed by Pakistani Muslim men, or predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. A cold truth again. But it's funny how when Tommy Robinson said it, he was demonized. He was a xenophobe. He's a racist. He's a bigot. Obviously, these are not my feelings. This is just how they were reacting, by the way. That was how they were reacting to Tommy Robinson when he put that cold, hard truth out. Tommy has been assaulted. He's had fatwas put on him. Hits, basically. He has been assaulted in prison by a group of Muslim men. Thankfully, when they were unprepared, because their faces were like, oh my god, he's in the room with us. And then The Sun put out a newspaper article, Tommy gets done, like it was fucking funny. Yeah, getting assaulted by 6 or 7 or so Muslim men, having your teeth knocked out is real funny. Let's see how you like it, son. Let's see how you like it, Sun newspaper. Let's stick you in one of those places, one of those situations, and you have 6 or 7 people beat the shit out of you. Let's see how you like it then. Oh, but of course you won't, because you know damn well that you would end up probably in a far worse spot than Tommy ever could be. You would probably be traumatized for life on that shit, whereas Tommy's just gotten back up and continued doing what he's doing. But when you look at the prisons, mostly Islamic, how you have 2 choices when you go to prison. Basically, convert to Islam or die. It's as simple as that. There's no colour, there's no shadings. It's just black and white. Or in this case, non-Muslim or Muslim. If you convert, you live. If you don't, you die. That's how the prisons work. Of course, the prison people will say that that's not the case. But Tommy's been there, firsthand, multiple times. Hell, one of his friends even recognised Tommy, and Tommy recognised them. And they were basically looking at all the wings to say, which ones have Muslims serving the least sentences? Because if he gets put in a prison cell with people doing 30 years, they're going to kill him. If he gets put on with someone with 6 months, he might get in a fight. His words from the British police state speech he gave. But I wonder, when will the media cover this? When will the left wing realise what's happened to Tommy is bloody wrong? Oh yeah.
It's just really interesting. I can sometimes hear you, and what you say a lot, I believe as well. The way you look at the world, just things like that, pressure.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we are being invaded by Islam. We are being controlled by Keir the traitor Starmer and the traitor party. Sorry, I mean the Labour Party. Or maybe I was right first time, you know. Yeah, thanks very much, bud. I appreciate it. Oh, and I might want to give you this if I've got it. Username. That's my username on YouTube. Check me out. You're welcome. Yeah. And I'll continue my little conversation. Deary me, I'm getting around. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, the lefties don't like to talk about Islam because they know full well they're a bunch of intolerant barbarians, to put it simply. Bunch of scumbags who don't even deserve to be breathing the oxygen we breathe. Now let me be clear. If there were people in Islam who were actually capable of integrating with our society, contributing to our society, paying their taxes and all that shit, I wouldn't say half the shit, but the trouble is, a lot of them don't. Now, the truth of the matter is, like I said at nearer the start of my video, or sorry, the middle of the video, with Islam, they are, unless the moderates, or the so-called peaceful Muslims, unless they're willing to call out their extremist brethren, just like they'd expect us to call them out, or expect us to call out our own people if they were, oh I don't know, for example, plotting to kill someone, or planning a bombing, or trying to get innocent girls to be plied with alcohol and all that shit. They would expect us to call them out. But until these people call them out, then they're not only the snakes in the grass, they're the grass that covers the snakes. That's the cold, bitter truth of it. And as I've said before, and people can say it with me, as far as anything is concerned, I am not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I am not going to mince my words. I will say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. Because we need to call this out. This government is treacherous. We have a sectarianist bastard more interested in stroke number 3, dearie me. We've got a sectarianist bastard protecting Islam, who is more interested in protecting one section of the community rather than what Keir the traitor Starmer should be doing, which is protecting all of the country. Until he starts doing that, I am never going to start respecting him, and I will always call him a traitor and a sectarianist bastard, because that's what Keir is. He needs to learn his duty is to all the British people, not one section. That's the bottom line. And if he doesn't want to do that, then he shouldn't have signed up to be Prime Minister. Because it is one of the most civic duties of a Prime Minister, which are twofold, as I've said before: protect the realm and protect its inhabitants. That means not endangering, God, nearly having stroke number 4 there, that would have been a record. Anyway, not endangering national security, not allowing illegal immigrants who commit crimes here to stay in our country, sending them back to their country of origin, not allowing foreign criminals to cost the taxpayer money, not to allow people with intolerant ideologies to set one foot in our country who may, for all we know, be planning an attack on us. And here's the thing. A lot of the people that are coming over shore, they're throwing their passports in the river, in the sea, wherever, where we cannot document them. And frankly, I don't care if they're an asylum seeker. Anyone who truly wants to be a legal asylum seeker and not an illegal immigrant would have their passport. They would have something to identify them, so we can actually see, yes, this person looks all right, we can have them, rather than, oh look, we don't have these any papers on this guy. Oh, why don't we stick him in a hotel at the taxpayer's expense? Let's piss the taxpayer money up the wall. You know, it blows my bloody mind that we have such a treacherous snake for a Prime Minister. It really does. We need to start treating this much more seriously. We need more people on board, and we need more people who are going to hold Keir the traitor Starmer and his cronies to account. Do you see any other religion going out of their way to groom children? Do you see any other group of people other than Islam going out of their way to commit a substantial number of terror attacks? Do you see any other religion that 90% of the terror watch list is predominated by Islamic people? Answer those questions, because that's the truth of the matter. Islam has never been interested in integrating with the West. It is a warrior religion, it is a conquering religion, and it focuses on subjugation and domination. Anybody who doesn't convert to Islam is basically prone to be killed. They're considered kafir, kafafal, whatever you want to call them, non-believers. They are considered enemies of Islam. Likewise, anybody who turns away from Islam, so for example, if somebody pretends to convert to Islam and then goes back to Christianity, for example, they're considered an apostate, and apostasy is punishable by death. Which again, the mainstream media are not going to tell you that, because that would undermine their narrative. The replacement of white, British, working class people, in fact white people in general, they want to replace us with cheap foreign labour, or these Islamic scumbags who, as said, have no interest in integrating with us. Now that label I had, that I gave the guy behind here, that was actually meant for the lady in Iceland, but you got to take an opportunity when you can, right? Anyway, back onto the point here. Islam is never going to appreciate our values. If we went to their country, like let's say I went to, I don't know, let's say I went to Pakistan. I probably wouldn't go there because it's way too dangerous. Anyway, let's say I go to Pakistan. I want to take a holiday there. They would expect me to adhere by their sharia law, their beliefs, their customs, and I would respect them because I'm a guest in their country, just like Islam and these illegals that are coming over here are quote-unquote guests in our country, though to be fair, the illegals should be treated as foreign invaders and sent straight back. But those who do come over legally also have to remember they are guests in our country. Like if you had a guest around your house, you'd expect them to abide by your rules and vice versa. Am I using too much common sense here? What do you think? But I digress. The bottom line in all this is Islam sees the left, the intolerant mob if you are, you know, the stand up to racism, the stroke number 4, there we go, new record, stand up to racism. Those bunch like to call us racists and fascists and Islamophobes. Yeah, who are the real racists when they're supporting the pro-plasticine group? You know, the ones who are endorsing the genocide of Jews, who are saying from the river to the sea, plasticine will be free. Obviously, I'm using plasticine as a replacement, but you know who I mean. Now, last time I checked, isn't that inciting hatred and violence against the Jewish people? That's the thing. These people don't want to respect our beliefs. They don't want to respect our values. They want to preach their values in our country. Their hatred, their intolerance, everything.
Thank you.
Remember, they're guests in our country, not the other way round. Here's the truth. Keir the traitor Starmer will never put the people first. He will put his enemies first, and then his friends, and then the British people. He's not looking out for us. He's looking after himself and the Islamic community, who literally see this biggest tool of the lot as a tool for them to use to conquer this country. Thanks very much, bud. See you later. Oh, dearie me, nearly hit the mirror. Criminal damage on the way. Anyway, the point is, these people will never integrate with us. Islam is a death cult, a conquering religion. It will never stop. It will do everything it can to silence its political opposition. They are the unequivocal fascists. They are the unequivocal racists, because they're the ones who will basically, they may not be saying it, but they might as well be shouting it from the rooftops, Muslim supremacy, because they basically want to silence people who speak negatively against Islam. Well, let me be clear. Islam is no different to any other religion, and it is susceptible to criticism just like Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, whatever religion you want to put out there. It does not get a free fucking pass just because it has a great prophet known as Muhammad, or is it Allah, or is it Alan Snack Bar? I can't remember. But the cold bitter truth they don't want to accept is that Islam is not a special snowflake. Islam is not entitled to anything. Just like that girl who went to fucking, I can't remember the school off the top of my head, but that girl, I do remember making a story about her who basically wanted to say that the school was impeaching on her rights to pray in the school. When no, she knew the fucking rules when she went in, and she's just looking for privileges. Oh God, stroke number 5. Deary fucking me. Privileges she does not deserve. I swear these are not deliberate, but my tongue just gets so tied. Oh, dearie me. But in all seriousness, if we did the same thing in their countries, in Pakistan, in India, in Islamabad, or maybe I was again right first time, or some other sharia law dominated country, and we had a bunch of Christians going out of their way to terrorize the community, they would treat this exactly the same way that we're treating this now. That is something they don't want to accept, and of course the mainstream media will not tell you this. But even if you can't be fucked to get rid of the foreign criminals, the foreign invaders coming into this country, the death cult that is Islam, the first thing you should do is build more prisons, because clearly we have more intolerant fuckers in our country than we've ever had in our entire lifetimes. But I'm telling you right now, Our priority should be dealing with getting rid of the trash, taking out the trash, metaphorically speaking, of course, because these people have shown they're not in it for the long haul. Unless, of course, that long haul involves the necrosis of this country, the absolute decay and destruction of Great Britain, and I guess the word to put it is, the assembling of Englandistan. They will not be content until this country is another third world shithole, like Pakistan. Islam is bad. India, to some lesser extent. Saudi Arabia. Afghanistan. Baghdad. No, I don't want a Baghdad. He's already a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve more torture. Anyway, it's like those countries. They want to turn our country into those kinds of countries over in the Middle East. Now, frankly, I don't want that shit. Tommy Robinson doesn't want that shit. Paul Thorpe, Maya Toosey, Richard Inman, and many, many more. We don't want that. This is our country, not theirs. Now, if I can, I know Paul Thorpe is doing a little segment in his little channel where it's basically we get to have our say and what have you. We get to send voice messages and what have you and all that shit and video calls to Paul Thorpe at a certain number. Now, I am hoping, touch wood, to get one of those messages in during my holiday next week, because I think the message needs to be put out there. We have, as I said, we've got like 2 to 5 months tops. We've got maybe 1-2 extra protests at most. That's our opportunity to try and get all of this to end peacefully with an olive branch, not a drawn sword. That's the way I look at it. Because if there's one thing history has taught us, is that you cannot reason with dictators. Or again, maybe I was right first time. You cannot reason with people who are power hungry. And Keir the traitor Starmer is definitely fitting of that title. The 10 names, Keir the traitor, Stalin, fucking fascist, sectarianist, gift pilfering. I could think of a bunch of other names, but I can't be fucked at this point. I already did that shit once. I don't want to waste my time naming 10 names for Keir the traitor Starmer again, because he's the real 10 names, not Tommy Robinson, like some NPCs keep commenting on some fucking videos. Like, they can sit there and complain about Tommy all they want. In the meantime, Islam is slipping in. It's slipping in through the cracks, and in their own Quran, it even says the greatest weapon that Islam has is the woman's womb. They plan to outbreed us. They plan to make as many children as they can so they can have more fighters for their cause. That's the cold, bitter truth on it. But the mainstream media won't tell you this. I have to do it again, folks. You know the drill. Because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. If word got out of this, the public would literally wake up just like that. Because they'd realise we're in danger. It's like Adolf Hitler and the Nazis when they invaded the West, when they invaded Poland, and then we went to war and we had millions of people's bloods spread across the battlefields of this world. We're heading towards that again if we don't cull this threat. If Keir the traitor Starmer doesn't have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to say, you know what? Deport the illegals, deport the foreign criminals, deport Islam. If he hasn't got the balls to do that, then we need someone who does have the balls. Whether it's me, whether it's Tommy Robinson, I don't think Nigel Farage will because he's against mass deportations. But we need someone who's got the biggest set of balls you've ever seen. Balls so big, he will need a fucking JCB scoop to get those bad boys off the fucking floor. We need someone who is not afraid to say it how it is as well, much like myself. Because I'm not going to stop saying what I'm saying. As I said before, even if I put my PayPals and what have you, or people send me fucking money through the mail. Obviously, people don't have my address, and I'm not going to give it out because I don't want to dox myself. But the point is, even if people were giving me a penny, a pound, £1,000, £1,000,000, or nothing at all, I'll still do this shit. You know why? Because people who have pride in what they do, who have a great deal of passion in what they do, who actually care for their country and want to see this country get better, they don't need motivation. They just do it. If needs be, if I were actually getting enough money, I'd obviously give up my day job. But this is not about me getting money. This is not me sitting here with a fucking begging bowl. Yeah, sorry, Siv, I punched you in the face. Anyway, this isn't about me holding up a begging bowl and saying, please, sir, spare some change. This is about getting the truth out there, getting people mobilised, getting the ordinary public red-pilled, woken up, standing up against Keir the traitor Starmer, who is selling your liberties, your rights, your freedom downriver. Hell, they're already trying to get a hold of Elon Musk to try and hauled up on charges because he's part of the so-called far right. Hell, Telegram have now decided they're going to give more of our information out to the government. One of the last 3 speech places has fallen. We can no longer use Telegram without the government knowing about whatever we're doing. They're going to have more of our personal information. And you know what? That worries me. Thankfully, I deleted my account before that shit happened. But it doesn't change the fact that it is no longer a safe haven for free speech. Therefore, I would encourage people to disband Telegram. Don't give those bastards the light of day, or the time of day, or whatever day it is. We need to make sure we're able to form a movement, and we're able to form a resistance to cut through the bullshit, to cut through Keir the traitor Starmer, who sits there in 10 Downing Street, pissing your money up the wall, while claiming 100 grand in freebies, while giving Sue Gray an 80k pay rise up to 170 grand a year, while he can't even be fucked to give 300 quid to pensioners, while he allows the very enemies who are at our gates, he's holding the fucking portcullis up and letting the bastards in, and then giving them the means to get rid of us. I don't know about you, but the 26th of October is a very important day. But I do genuinely have that worry. We will not be able to get through to Keir the traitor Starmer. Do you know what insanity is? Insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. There are some people you just can't reason with. We tried to reason with Adolf Hitler. Look what happened. We tried to reason with Stalin. Look what happened. That's the bitter truth that people need to accept. They will, sooner or later. They'll have to swallow that bitter pill. It depends upon when they do it. The police, the media, oh God, stroke number 6, the judiciary, and our establishment. They're all in it together, and they don't have us or you, the Indigenous British person, at the core of their values. The core of their values is DEI. The core of their values is cheap foreign labour. And bear in mind, unskilled migrants, low-level migrants, are costing the taxpayer 150 grand each. Low-skilled migrants. That was the Office of, I think it was the OBE, if I recall correctly, that released that. So don't just take my word for that shit. 150 grand each. Let's say there's 1,000 people come in. Well, stick another 3 noughts on the end there. That's 150 million they've cost the taxpayer. What if it's another 100,000? My advice, as far as that bit's concerned, take your best guess. Take a look at the lowest number of people that have come into this country and wish for better. Or rather, take the lowest number there and think that as a best case scenario. And think higher. Because it's probably going to be a lot more than that. That's the cold bit of truth, folks. And I'm not afraid to say it. Keir the traitor Starmer is, though. He despises the truth. He despises Tommy Robinson. Why do you think they're getting the Attorney General to go after Tommy Robinson? And they want to claim it's in the public interest. No. Seeing Tommy Robinson go to jail is not in the public's interest. If anything, the public interest is for you to do your fucking job, protect the country from the terrorists, protect the country from foreign invaders, protect the country from criminals, do your job and serve the British people by giving them what they want instead of trying to fuck them over and see them as literal bags of money, and actually use a healthy dose of common sense. But I have talked about this shit long enough. 36.5 minutes of me rambling on and having 6 strokes. That's a stroke every 6 minutes. This is not going to change until Keir the traitor Starmer is out of power. And it depends on him and us when that happens. Either Keir the traitor Starmer jumps before he's pushed, or we, the British people, have got a choice to make if he wants to continue defying us. We have to choose, do we continue banging our heads against the wall for jaw, or do we prepare for the worst case scenario? Let me be absolutely clear. I am not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for law breaking. I'm not advocating for a violent revolution. Let me be absolutely clear on that. That is an absolute last fucking resort. I want this to end peacefully. Richard wants this to end peacefully. Tommy wants this to end peacefully. Paul Thorpe wants this to end peacefully. We all want this to end peacefully, with an olive branch instead of a drawn sword. But Keir the traitor Starmer is not giving a lot of options for that right now. That's the way I look at it. Islam is going to do everything it can to conquer this country. And Keir the traitor Starmer is letting it all happen. In fact, he's fucking helping them. He may as well be giving them a bag of AK-47s while he's at it. Of course, he won't like that. But I don't give a fuck about Keir the traitor Starmer. Because as I said before, I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'll say it exactly how it is. I'm not going to mince my words. And I will do my best not to bullshit you. Which is a lot more than what Keir the traitor Starmer can do. Oh, he promises joy at his first conference. Well, I haven't even watched that shit. And I can tell you this much free of charge. Next one costs you 20 quid though. Anyway, I can tell you this much free of charge. There's only one way Keir the traitor Starmer is going to make us feel joy for him. He needs to A, give back the pensioners their winter fuel payment. B, he needs to deport these foreign invaders, criminals, and Islam and make sure our country is kept safe, and then hand over the party to reform. And then C, he needs to say, I am going to resign now. I am going to turn myself into the police and face charges for breaching the Human Rights Act, basically false imprisoning people just because they said things that I don't like. He doesn't like, you know what I mean. And then he should face crimes against humanity. And then most importantly, he should face charges of treason. Bring back the treason law, even if it's already there. Reinforce it. Bring this traitor to justice. We need to send a very strong message in these next 2 to 5 months. We have got to give them a choice. Start doing the fucking job, or we're going to do the job for them. And it ain't going to be pretty, let me tell you. Choice is yours, Keir the traitor Starmer. At the end of the day, you could fix this. You could make this right. But if you don't want to make it right, we will. And I promise you, the way we do it will make what happened in World War I and II look like a fucking picnic. If you want to keep defying the British people, the Southport riots, they may as well not exist compared to what we can be truly capable of. If we amass the numbers, if we amass a resistance against your establishment, man alive, you will have a very hard time hiding from justice, because the light will come and banish the darkness and make you accountable for the crimes against your people.